Hello, and welcome to the Mommy Escape Time podcast. I'm Lauren. I'm a wife and a new mom. I came up with the idea of this podcast after struggling to find mommy groups around me when my son was born. I wanted a community of mothers I heard so many of my friends talk about when they had their children. This podcast is to help mothers like me that want a community of mothers to connect with when they have their free time. Together with my usual guest, Taryn, and other mothers, we will share our experiences, not our advice, through motherhood, and hopefully get some tips from you, the listeners. So come join us on the Mommy Escape Time podcast. Hello, and welcome to the Mommy Escape Time podcast. I'm here with Taryn.
Hi.
And we just had another fun sound check. So, we like to have fun. So we got to keep it, light and bright here.
Yeah.
So today is, I don't really know how to categorize this topic, but we're going to talk about, it's maybe not a mom thing, but kind of a mom thing.
It becomes a mom thing.
Yeah, it becomes a mom thing. And it's kind of sports, kids / husband, how you manage, deal with all of that. So a good explanation is Taryn and I are kind of opposites.
Yes.
Okay. So, and maybe our families are a little bit of the opposite. So my husband and I enjoy sports, watching sports, going to games, things like that. Why don't you say
I enjoy none of that. And my husband, who works on the weekends, so isn't home to put sports on for my kids, isn't really into it either because he's been working weekends since he could work.
Right.
So he's not really exposed to it all that often. And athleticism is not one of his strong suits, which I have to say, I was a cheerleader and a dancer in high school, so I wouldn't say the competitive sports were really my thing.
But they don't have as much cheerleading that you could watch on TV anyways.
Right. And when it does come on, it's on those really bizarre channels it's once.
Right.
Ever.
Right. And we should both say that we don't have cable. So
I don't have
not
cable.
An option,
yeah, so I'm not watching these obscure channels.
No.
For the cheer competition that's happening.
All right.
But that's more my style. I do watch So You Think You Can Dance, and I watch World of Dance, which are TV competition shows about dancing, and I think they're amazing and they're so much fun. But as far as watching baseball or football, that is not in my wheelhouse. Maybe you can help explain the fascination with it because God, I get so bored.
So one of the reasons I wanted to do this episode is because it's the beginning of baseball season. Okay. So we're kicking off baseball season right around the time this podcast is going up.
That's just slightly more entertaining than watching golf on TV.
So I will say, when I was single and I was trying to date, and I will say trying, it was not always successful. I had 2.5 requirements that I was looking for.
2.5.
Okay. The two were that they needed to be taller than me and they needed to be into sports. And the other half was they had to be employed. Okay.
Oh, fair.
Okay. That was it. Those were my requirements. And everyone was like, oh my gosh.
Can you also let people know that you're tall?
I'm tall. So I'm 5'8". Maybe I'm 5'9" now with my surgery with my broken leg. I gained a little height. So and that's flat-footed. So
yeah, and on my driver's license I'm 5'2".
All right. If you've ever seen the two of us stand next to each other, it's a dramatic difference. So you have to go on to Instagram to see some of our stuff. But so those were my requirements. First of all, I would like to say the guys lie how tall they are. So
100%.
Okay. Especially if they are under 6 feet. If they are under 6 feet and you are on a dating website, they are lying about their height.
Case in point, my husband says he's 5'8", and there's no way he's as tall as you are.
I think he might be as tall as I.
I don't think so.
But, okay, I would go out on these dates with guys, and I would be taller than them. And on their profile, they'd say oh, I'm 6 feet tall. I'm like, do you not think that when you walk in that I'm going to notice that I am taller than you?
Right.
Okay.
I mean, and if you're going to lie like that, at least wear platforms.
Exactly. So the other thing I found is guys would be like, oh yeah, I'm into sports. Like, oh yeah. Okay, I'm into sports. Okay, I should not. What I meant when I meant that you need to be into sports is you need to know more than I know. Okay.
Yep.
Now you need to know that I am a Pittsburgh fan. So super fan for hockey and football in Pittsburgh.
And those teams would be.
Okay, sorry. Yep, because Taryn doesn't know. So Pittsburgh Steelers is football.
Okay.
And the Pittsburgh Penguins is hockey.
Right.
Okay.
Of course.
Right.
I was just checking to make sure you knew.
Right. And I'm not a fan of the Pittsburgh Pirates, who are the baseball team. I just have a conflict by marriage because my husband is a Brewers fan. And to some of you, this makes no sense. They're in Milwaukee,
Okay.
which is in the middle of the country. And they play each other a lot.
Milwaukee Tools. Sorry, that's a brand of tools. I got it.
So our rating is about to go down.
Sorry, guys.
Just kidding. So dating was very challenging for me because I could not find someone who was taller than me and who was into sports. And people are like, oh my gosh, Lauren, you're being way too picky. I don't think it's being picky asking that someone I date, if I couldn't even get the height thing, like at least be into sports more than I am. Okay?
Right.
And
At least hold an intelligent conversation.
Right.
Unlike what's happening right now.
Right. Like I can I could easily name players on all of those teams, no problem. You know, I can't say everything about it. I can't say that I know every rule about everything. If you know anything about baseball, there are a gazillion rules. There is no way that everyone knows the rules, including the umpires. I just want to let you know. And these people who are like in to baseball, okay? Because I've watched games where no one has known the rules and they've actually had to figure out what the rule is, and they've stopped the game for like 10 minutes because no one knows what to do in this situation. So, yeah. So, anyways.
See, and I thought they were just giving everyone a break to go get some more beer.
No. So, finding my husband, he was really into baseball, which is the sport that I was least into at this time. And if you are from Pittsburgh or know anything about Pittsburgh baseball, the last couple of years have not always been the best. And historically have definitely not been the best the last, 30-something years that I have been alive. But football, always, like, number one. Football is my number one thing. Growing up, football was on TV, whether we were watching it or not, whatever the game was, whether it was our team or not our team. College football, I'm not as into, but professional NFL football, I am into. And it was just always on TV. So football, Sundays in football season to me are, I don't want to say sacred, but it means that at some point you should be watching. There should be football on the TV.
My dad and stepmother are like that. Like, I'll go to their house on the weekends and football will always be on in the background. But for me, it's like white noise.
Right.
They'll scream every once in a while. I'll look over my shoulder. Oh.
Right. And so it's kind of like you're either into it or you're not into it.
Yeah.
I mean, and it doesn't matter. And it might be, what do you do now that your kids are into it? So now you're maybe the only one that's not into it. Like how...
Yeah.
I want to try and help you guys. And I have some ideas of some things that you can do to maybe make it fun. You don't have to be. I understand that watching it on a TV is way worse than being live.
Well, if we're talking about our children playing the
Well, we'll get to our children playing. But if, let's say as a family, you wanted to go to, I'll just say baseball game, because
I've actually been to baseball games with my family.
Okay. So enjoyable, not enjoyable?
I actually like the experience of being at the baseball game. I enjoy, like, the ambiance. I understand why people like it so much that they go and watch outside of actually being at the event. I don't like it that much, but I could understand how you could be invested in the players from watching.
Right.
However, there is a lot of downtime. Like in most of these sports, I've never been to a professional football game.
Right. I haven't been in a while, so I can't say definitely, but
I've been to ice hockey games.
I would say there's the least amount of downtime in hockey.
Yeah. So those are my favorite games to go to because not only is it exciting and there's a lot of action and they're back and forth and back and forth. But I like it kept me drawn in the longest.
It keeps going. Like there's not a lot of breaks. Like it's just they're playing.
Right.
And then, there's a few, depending on how many periods they're playing, there's only a little bit of a break.
Yeah. We have a friend at work, little side note, he went to a professional ice hockey game, and at the end of the third period, he didn't know why everyone was getting up to leave because the fourth quarter hadn't even started yet. so I'm not that bad. I knew that there were only three periods. Like I can hold my own with the basics of the games.
Right.
But there's so much downtime in baseball that with the kids, it can be challenging. So we actually figure out when they're going to have themed games. So the most recent one that we went to, my son is a huge Harry Potter fan.
Yes.
And the game we went to was Harry Potter themed. And if you showed up early, they had a scavenger hunt and you could win something if you found all of these Harry Potter artifacts.
Nice.
So we went and we did that, and everyone there was dressed up as Harry Potter characters, and that kept them interested. And because baseball, you can leave and not miss a ton, we would go for walks around the stadium and check out. They had a kids section at the stadium we were at, so they were able to enjoy that, and they had a little petting zoo.
Right. In Connecticut, we have a minor league team.
Yeah.
So it's a very family friendly park to go to where there are things, and it's small, so it doesn't feel so overwhelming. It's
exactly.
It doesn't feel ever too crowded, like it doesn't have that feel to it. And I think that's kind of like the thing is you need to find things that keep you entertained because you don't want to have your family miss out on all this stuff because you don't enjoy it. And there are ways to enjoy it. Mm-hmm. I like in the minor league games, in between the innings on the field, they have a lot of special things.
Yep.
They have people from the audience, and they have to, one person is dressed as the bun and the other person has to put together a hamburger onto this person, and they have to race, and they had between every inning there is something.
Yeah. So they have the little kids dress up and race with is it the goats that they race with, or maybe they dress up as goats and they run. It's so cute.
Right. So those things kind of can keep you entertained.
Yeah.
And other things that I try and do is because baseball was hard for me at the beginning. Baseball is a long season.
Long season.
Yes.
Long games.
Yes. I don't follow basketball, but basketball is unbelievably long. I feel like there is an hour where there is not a basketball game on. I do follow college, but not professional. And professional, I'm like, are they still playing? It's July.
Right. I don't even know what.
Done.
Yeah.
I can't even follow it anymore because.
Do they even have a championship game? I don't even know.
And I think that's what's so hard is you're okay, I just need to get to the end of the season, and then there's playoffs, and the playoffs take forever.
Now, I do get into March Madness, college basketball, but as far as professional basketball, sorry, professional basketball players.
Right. It's just not
all of you listening to our podcast.
I know. There's so many. Come on.
Not after this episode.
It's just, I think because in our area, basketball, we live in Connecticut. UConn is our we just grew up that UConn was basketball, and that's a college basketball. Mm-hmm. So that's it. That's everyone everyone is a UConn fan in Connecticut, you know?
I mean, by default.
By default. Like, it's just, that's...
Because it's not like Connecticut has their own baseball team or football team. We don't have a team, but we have a UConn basketball team.
Right. And
men's and women's.
And if you don't know, our women's team is like amazing. They've had like years and years and years where they've been very successful. And we've had, our men's team is successful also.
Yes.
So we just kind of, that's just, especially growing up in Connecticut, you're just used to UConn.
Right.
That's something that, there are games that are accessible for us to go to, you know? So I don't know. I normally try and find things. I don't even need to watch the game. In baseball, sometimes you do need to watch the game to make sure you don't get hit in the head with a ball.
Yeah.
So that,
I don't think my seats are ever good enough to have to worry about that.
You never know. Fly balls
That's
happen
true.
everywhere. So, but yeah, I mean, I just try and find things. Even if I'm looking around the stadium and I'm looking at other people, like, oh, how many people are eating a pretzel this inning? Like I do silly things like that just to keep myself entertained. Even if my husband and whoever else is with us is like really into the game and whatnot. I can't always like get really into the game. I mean, it's a really great place to people watch also.
Yes.
Like the people around you, like you can just listen in on their conversations.
Yeah. And I've noticed people are typically very friendly at the stadium. Like you can strike up a conversation with almost anyone.
Right. So that's kind of fun. And like, you can kind of be like, okay, once this is over, I can go get something for my family. So if your kids and your husband or partner are really into the game, then you can be the person that's like, okay, I'll go to the concession stand.
Right. What does everyone want? I'll come back with it. Yeah.
Or you can be the person that takes the kids to the bathroom, things like that. Not always the fun jobs, but I mean, it's
sometimes just getting up and having a change of scenery.
Yeah. I will say baseball can get monotonous. I mean, you have experience with your kids' games, right?
Dear Lord. Yes, I do.
And that's actually one of my biggest fears, that my son is going to like baseball. And I'm like, oh my gosh.
Oh my gosh. So my kids,
they're 9. They're 9.
Okay. Not the most athletic, but we wanted them to be well-rounded. So we put them into soccer when they were 4 or 5, and we've tried a bunch of different sports. They both tried Little League baseball. They've tried taekwondo. They've you name it. Pretty much every sport that I'm okay with them playing, they've attempted.
Right.
To be a parent who is not that into sports already, and then to watch a bunch of kids who don't even have the skills to understand the rules of the game yet.
Right.
I think that's what hell is.
Yeah, it is quite hard.
I think there were a few times I even texted you, like, I'm in some form of torture. I must be. The kids, so when they play baseball, Little League, at a certain age, the coach will come in and start pitching if the kids are pitching too many balls and walking too many kids. If there's like a certain count, the coach will come in. And then, so my son did it for 2 seasons. The second season, he bumped up a level because of his age, and that was no longer allowed. So the kids would just pitch and pitch and pitch. My daughter is like stepping on divots in the outfield. She's like, nothing ever comes this far. So I had to have talk after talk about, like, you're not going to get up to shortstop or catcher or pitcher if you can't pay attention in the outfield. So the coaches are putting you there to help you focus so that you could learn the rules so that they could put you in a more high profile position.
Right.
And my husband would talk about Aaron Judge's position on guys.
He plays for the New York Yankees.
Yeah, I think he's in the outfield. I think he right field maybe. I don't know. Yankees, sorry. And so my husband would talk about Aaron Judge and how he, like, even though he doesn't get the most action, he's very important on the team. And so we wanted to instill an understanding of teamwork with our kids, but I have never been more bored as watching my kids play at sporting events. And there are parents that post all the time about, oh my gosh, let's go. It's so exciting. And I I don't know if they're lying and putting on like a front for Facebook, or if they truly do love this watching the sport so much that they don't care that it's a bunch of, at the time it was 7 and 8-year-olds that don't know what they're doing.
Right.
So I have a hard time. And again, I love my kids and will do anything for them. And I also love myself and might have helped in talking them out of not doing baseball for a third season.
Right.
Not my proudest moment, but I just didn't push it. My son was like, I don't feel like doing this anymore. And I was like, okay, you're required to finish the season.
Right.
That is something that I feel strongly about. We signed up for it. We paid. You have to finish. Once you've finished, I just won't sign you up again.
Right.
And they complained. And I was maybe a little bit more lenient about getting them to practices, knowing it wasn't their passion and it wasn't something they were going to continue with. But, you know, I was never more excited than when they both said, baseball's not my thing. Right. I hid my smile. And then I went into my bedroom and cried happy tears. I was like, oh my God, this is the best day of my life.
Well, I wonder, so my husband I will say my husband is a runner. I don't know. Maybe I'll be a runner.
You'll
one
be
day
there
again.
someday. I have faith.
Okay. So I think that we don't want to push my son into running, but I think that we would enjoy going to watch him run because that's something that we like to do.
Right.
And even though we like baseball and like to watch it on TV, I'm not sure if we would like to go and watch him as much. Baseball is very I don't want to say slow, but it's
you can say slow.
Right. But it's not like a sport where you're going, your kid gets very individual attention in that game, and then the rest of the time it's like they have no attention. And
they're climbing up the fence in the dugout.
Right. It's either they're hitting the ball when they're up, or, they're catching the ball in the outfield and throwing it to someone, but that's it.
And if they haven't been pegged as being talented early on, they're not pitching, they're not catching. Because, like I said, the coach needs to know that you can pay attention so you don't get hurt. It's for their well-being. I understand it.
Right. So,
but then they're not getting a lot of action at all.
Right. And some of it might be that people enjoy sitting with the other parents and talking with them while they're sitting there.
And let me remind everyone that I'm an introvert, which means that is not where I'm comfortable.
Right. So getting through these things that maybe we don't necessarily enjoy, but we want our kids, it's for our kids.
I'll do anything for my kids.
Right. So I think, just finding those things that keep you entertained, even if you're not talking to the other parents, maybe keeping track. When I had swim lessons, there was a parent that would literally voice out everything her daughter was saying. Oh, she jumped in the water. Oh, she put her right hand over her left hand now. And I was like, oh my gosh, I cannot sit next to this woman anymore. I'm like, she's taking the joy out of me watching my son at his swim lesson. So I had to make a game out of it. I was like, okay, let's count how many times she makes a comment in a minute. And I could time her in a minute. And that's what I would do. And I'd be like, okay, so in the last 10 minutes, which one was the most comments,
Right. And you have a much better attention span than me. I just roll my eyes and check my email.
I know. I just try and find those little things to try and keep me entertained and not always dread having to go, because I don't want that dread. If that's really if my son really wants to do baseball, then I have to find a way.
Yeah, I'm sure I would have found the will to survive if I needed to.
There's a teacher that I used to that works in our school, and her son was a baseball player all through starting in Little League all the way. He's in college now, and he plays baseball on the team there. And even in the summer, he plays on a special team there. And he's a pitcher, and she's like, She's like, I'm almost glad that he's a pitcher because I don't have to go to every single game. She's like, he's only going to pitch in certain games.
Yeah. And there's like a certain count. And
right.
it's the lower, the younger you are, the lower it is. So if you pitched 20 pitches in a row in Little League, then you're not going to be pitching the next game.
Right.
If it's within a certain number of days.
Right. So it was easier for her to manage that stuff. The hard part, of course, is the practices and the traveling and all that. But that's
I've heard ice hockey is very challenging too because you have to travel for everything.
And it's like a 5 a.m. sport.
Right. It's a before school activity for many kids up into a certain age.
No, even for some of our kids at the high school level, it's before
well, that's
school.
The high school kids that aren't just on the high school team, they're still getting up early.
Yeah,
that's true.
So it's definitely like it's the long haul.
Yeah.
So, but someday we'll talk about managing all the activities.
Yeah,
I know we've talked about some stuff with activities before, but it's very hard to say. I don't know. You want your kids to do what they want to do.
Right.
Without breaking the bank, first of all.
Right.
And just making sure that they're exposed to things.
And you don't want them overscheduled.
Right.
And you also don't want to make yourself crazy. So it's finding that balance. Like I definitely happened to lose several flyers for things that I just knew my kids couldn't handle anymore in their schedule, even if they wanted it. I was like, you guys have plenty going on.
Right.
You're okay.
Yeah, definitely. So let us know what kind of tips you guys have for either when you're at sporting events with your families. I'm trying to think at home. I guess we didn't really talk about any strategies at home when you're watching a game. Of course, Taryn had a great idea. But
See, just don't put it on and you'll be all set.
Yes. But like my husband, we don't have cable, but we do have, it's called MLB package. So we can watch all 160 odd games of whatever team we want to.
That sounds riveting.
Right. I can't watch it. And I'm very honest with my husband. Like I just can't do it anymore. Like I can't watch another game. Like sometimes it gets too monotonous. Sometimes I want to watch it. Like the beginning of the season, I'm like, okay, like, whatever. I want to learn all the players and things like that. And as the season goes on, and near the end of the season, if it's like a lot of anticipation about, we have to win this game. We have to win this game.
Right.
I do not like to watch then. And I guess I just try and have fun with it. I'll try and watch some of it.
Yeah.
And maybe I'll bring something that I am also working on, like maybe bring some schoolwork in that I can work on while I'm doing it, or working on something while I'm watching
I've brought tests to grade to my kids' games.
Right. And I think it's, that's okay. Like, you're still there. You could still participate in some way. You're still a part of it. But I don't feel like at any point you have to 100% be paying attention to it. So
no, good for you if you do.
Yes.
Like there were definitely parents that were engaged the entire time, and I gave them a lot of credit.
Yeah.
And let them know that they were better than me.
Well, I don't know. It's just, it is what it is. And, Taryn brought up a great point, at home, maybe it's a drinking game for you, that's what you need to do. So
that's because we'll get invited to friends' houses a lot of times too. Right. And so I make a drinking game out of it, and it's amazing.
Right. So, whatever you have to do what you need to do. Mm-hmm. So, you don't want to suck the joy out of everyone else. So you got to try and figure out what's going to work for you. So we'd love to hear from you guys about comments that you have that works for you. Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, if you want, and just follow along. So thank you, Taryn, for coming in, and everyone have a good week.
No problem. Bye,
everyone. Bye.